Yeah, g'day, this is the Adelaide Old Fart. This video is all about replacing the stator on a Royal Enfield Himalayan, specifically the BS3 version, the carby version. There are videos on the internet, but I've only found them from India, in Indian, Hindi or something like that, which of course wasn't a lot of use to me. So I thought I'd do one in English. Now bear in mind that I'm not a mechanic, a bit of a muggins with the spanners actually, so I make mistakes. I don't do things the easy way, and I'm probably not the right person to be making this sort of video, but as I said, I can only find them in an Indian language, which isn't a lot of use, or wasn't to me anyway. So here we go. But it's a bit choppy too, because when I removed the stator I did things in the wrong order and made life hard for myself, so the video is a bit hit and miss. Now the first job is to drain the oil. Now I'm not going to show you how to do that. Quite frankly, if you can't drain the oil on your own, you shouldn't be tackling this job. Right, well now we need to remove the regulator, which is that little beastie right there. There's a bolt at the top and the bottom, and there's 4 cables that go through to the other side, and there's an earth wire which is in behind this side panel. So it's actually not hard to get off. The hardest part is getting at the cables at the other end and identifying it. So let's see how we do. Now I've actually found it's easier to remove the regulator first and then unplug the wires. It just gives you a bit more slack, and quite frankly there's not a lot of slack in the factory wires. Right, now I had to remove that side cover because I've done the earth cable slightly different to what the factory did. The factory mounts it underneath that top bolt. I wasn't real happy with that, so I've actually mounted it underneath the main earth wire, which is just in there if you can see it. Anyway, that's the bolt I've removed. That plastic hose will be relocated to somewhere else. That plastic hose is actually doubling as the fuel overflow at the moment. Yeah, I've lost the socket. No, I haven't. There it is. Doesn't feel like the right one, but it will have to do. Right, that's that rubber boot there. Here we go. Big plug here is the one we've got to get. You squeeze the bits at the top and pull them down, and it comes out really easy once you know the special trick. If you don't know the special trick, it can take forever. When I first encountered that, it took me a day and a half, which is why I made the special video showing you how to do it. And this is a normal electrical connector. I don't know why they make them so hard to undo, but they do. Got it. Now I've actually made a video of how to undo that plug, and it's in the end screens on this video, or you can just hunt through my YouTube channel to find it. And you also have to unplug the 3 or 4 other plugs that come from the stator to remove them completely. And I'm not going to show you that because it's just identifying where plugs go and disconnecting them. They're just standard electrical plugs. Now you'll notice I start undoing the bolts on the stator cover. What have I forgotten? What I've forgotten, or what I didn't realise, is that the cover for the front sprocket actually overlaps the stator cover, and while that's bolted in place, you'll never get it off. Also, you need to remove the gear lever, because once the stator gets out, starts sliding off, the gear lever fouls it. So you need to remove your gear lever, then the front sprocket cover, and everything will be fairly happy. Sort of, maybe, almost. You'll see what I mean. The stator is a dry fit. It's only got a gasket in there, but rather than a cardboard gasket or a paper gasket, it's a steel cord gasket with a rubberized finish. This means the darn thing's expensive. Cost me about 65 Australian dollars. Was it worth replacing it? Probably. I don't intend to take it off again, so in 10 years' time I won't notice the price I paid today. But to get the stator cover off, you need to tap it, wooden end of the hammer or something, a nice gentle mallet or something, just to break everything free. But bear in mind it's not going to go flopping around. There's a location peg at the bottom of the bottom of the cover. There's the gear mechanism for the starter motor at the top, and one of those shafts has to go into a hole. And of course there's the stator itself inside the magnets. So it all gets a bit complicated. It doesn't want to just move and flop off. But you tap it free so it starts to move, and then it's just a matter of wriggling it off and wriggling it off. Unfortunately, the magnets themselves will pull the stator back into the system. So you can pull it off and the rotten thing will just jump back in again. So it takes a bit of fiddling around and a bit of trying, but it'll come off relatively easily. There we go. There we are, straight off. Right. Here's the old gasket. These things cost 65 bucks. I bought a new one. No, they're not cheap. That's what the whole works looks like in there. Here's your starter drive. That's just a spindle. This is the magnetic thing that sits off the end of your crankshaft and holds some magnets, spins around your stator. Right, here's my stator case. Yeah, it's all supposed to be nice and coppery like that, but as you can see around here, it's black and it's burnt. That's the signs of a burnt out stator. In fact, there's signs here that it's been melted. So it's obviously got very hot and it needs rewinding or replacing. I'll be rewinding it so I get a better unit. that's the starter gear. Now next job, undo those 2 screws and this cups off, and then my stator's free. And one freshly rewound stator. Oh, now, where does that go in? Does it matter where it goes in? Does it go that way? I reckon it goes that way. Of course it does, because that end goes inside the electrical bits. But this is the stator and the plug reinstalled. What you can't see is there's a clip there. It sits on top of the 2 posts, goes down underneath the wire, across up the other side, and this plug, or this switch, whatever it is, relay, sits down on top of it and screws it firm into place. Now all these screws have got a dab of blue Loctite, medium strength Loctite on them, and eventually when reinstalling it, that will have a dab of sealant on it. So let's get back into the bike and make it all happen, eh? And don't tip your, this cover upside down, because these things will fall off. And then you've got to work out which way they go and hope you got it right. Isn't that fun? Now we have this little locating peg which goes right down under here in the big hole. There it is, it's in. That serves to locate both the housing and the gasket. Make sure it's in, unlike I did yesterday, otherwise you find yourself pulling the whole thing apart again. Which is what I'm doing today. So that'll locate the bottom of the gasket. It's just going to flop around like crazy and drive you mad. Thin smear of this stuff around here where the cable comes out. On. Now, the gasket actually sits out past the casing just here, obviously. Is the gasket in the right place? It won't be, of course. Here we are. Now I should be able to get that screw back into that top hole with a bit of luck. And it's in. remember they're 3 long ones. Why isn't that catching? Oh, there it is. There's these 2 recessed into the housing. Now you'll keep getting a bit of movement on the gasket because it's a metal core with a rubberized coating, and the mating surfaces actually sink into the rubber. So it's not going to nip up like 2 metal parts, 2 metal to metal components. It feels like I might be there. I'm not applying a huge amount of force on these bolts. I wouldn't get your tame gorilla or a 16-year-old to do it. Okay, the stator cover is on. I've refilled the sump with oil. I didn't show that because if you don't know how to do that, you probably shouldn't be tackling this job. And now we have to reinstall the cover over the front sprocket. Now that had to come off because it overlaps the stator cover in this area here. Yeah, where is the hole? There it is. Where is it? Oh, where is it? That's it. Right, now the gear shifter. Now, to install the stator and plug in all the electrical stuff. Well, we have here a nice new stator. This isn't the Royal Enfield one, it's a Japanese one. Having had 2 Royal Enfield stators fail on me, for whatever reason, I thought I was quite happy to have a nice new one. Right. Now this wire out of the stator plugs into there, does it? Yes. And now it's just a matter of connecting up all the connectors, electrical connectors. You saw me do one, the big one from the stator. It's just a matter of pushing the plug into the one end of the plug into the other. All you push down on the red slide, coordinate that properly, it goes together rather well. And then the others that come from the stator into the bike's wiring. Each wire only has one plug it can plug into, so it's not hard to work out which one goes where. And then the awful job of reinstating those rubber shields over the plugs. And if you remember the way it came off yours, maybe it didn't, it did on mine. I used some zip ties at the bottom of the rubber covers just to hold them in place. Right, now the stator itself, which mounts in here, I'm going to take that off. Although the factory mounts the earth underneath the stator, between the stator and the frame, I'm going to mount it directly under a main earth wire, just to give the best possible earth. Right. It does actually go in there quite easily, it's just the stiff wires resisting life a little bit. Here we go. So that's the earth from the stator, that's the earth to the bike. They got both going on the same bolt. Right, that's all in. I can now reconnect the battery. Right, unless I'm very much mistaken, you should be able to start it up.